Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jessica, and in today's video, I have some really beautiful Dollar Tree DIYs to share with you that are all fall based, and I even snuck in one Halloween one. But today's video is extra special because I'm going to be working with Hiipoo. So as you guys might know, I do not have a cutting machine, so I often miss out on some of those really fun crafts, but I'm going to show you how I achieved these beautiful crafts using Hiipoo water slides as well as some heat transfers. But before we get started, if you are not yet subscribed, I would love for you to join us by subscribing down below and make sure to turn on that notification bell. So here are the two products that I'm going to be working with today, and Hiipoo kindly sent these to me to try out and share with you guys, so thank you so much, Hiipoo. And I have to tell you, this is my first time using these water slides. I love them. They are so much fun. Trust me, once you start kind of using them, you're going to want to keep using them, and they're really easy. So don't let these directions intimidate you. I'm going to be taking you through all the steps. It is really super simple, trust me, and it is a lot of fun. So these ones I am going to be including a free printable for, as well as the iron-on transfers. So these are perfect for kind of just embellishing a tote or a t-shirt. I'm actually going to do some dish towels later, so these are really fun as well, and it's so convenient that you can just print out pretty much any image you want and create an iron-on for it. So cool. Hiipoo is also sending me a coupon code to share with you guys, which will be in the description box of this video. It will be active only for a short time, but in case you wanted to try these out, I figured a coupon would be great just to get some additional savings, and these are priced pretty affordably already, but of course, when you can save some money, why not? And I did want to just quickly mention that for the water slides, you will need some clear spray paint to set them in before you use them. So you can use matte or gloss, it is totally up to you. Today I chose to go with my matte clear one. This one I think is just from Walmart, very inexpensive. It was under $4 and you don't need a lot of it. You just need to coat your paper a couple times, but I'm going to take you through all of those steps. So once you take out one of your water slides papers, it looks just like this, and you want to make sure you're printing on the shiny side. And like I said, I included some free printables for you guys. So here is my blog. I'm going to leave the link for this down below. And to get all the free printables that you will need for all of the crafts, you can just go all the way down to the bottom of the article. And you can just click on this first pink link right here. And this is going to take you to everything that I'm going to be using today. So this first page here is for the water slide decals. And the second page is for the iron-on transfers. So if you just want to print out one, you can just do page 1 of 1 when you print it out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here, print out page 1 of 1, and this is for my water slide paper. And then the second page will be for my iron-on transfer paper. And when you're printing it out, you're going to want to make sure to go down and pick the best possible photo, premium paper. That way you get the best image when you're printing it out. Make sure it slides all the way over to best, and you are ready to go. And this works in all inkjet printers. So you'll see here that on that second link, I included just the iron-on transfers if you just want to use those. And the third link has just the water slide decal pictures, and I broke those up into separate crafts for you. And then if you want to just check out the products that I'm going to be using, right here I have them both linked. We have the Hiipoo water slides and the iron-on transfers, but if you just want to head over to my Amazon storefront, you can just click that link, and if you click on my DIY crafts area, I have everything there in one spot. So here is my page 1 all printed out, and like I said, you do want to make sure to print on that shiny side, and once it prints, give it some time to dry. I would say about 30-40 minutes should be plenty of time to let it dry. You probably don't need to wait that long, but I just chose to. And now step 2 is going to be sealing in your water slide. So you just want to grab your clear spray paint, matte or glossy, and you're gonna need to give it 3 separate coats. So here I am just doing my first coat. I let it dry about 10 minutes, did my second coat, let that dry, and then did my third coat. Then I let that dry completely. and they are ready. They are perfect to use now. They are totally prepped and sealed in. As long as you wait for them to dry, you are good to go. And trust me, it does not take long at all. It was very quick, and now the crafting process is super simple. So you just want to cut them out. And the transfer paper for the Waterslide decals is actually clear, so you don't have to worry about cutting out every little detail. You just want to leave a small edge around your picture or your words just to make it a little bit easier. So now we get to move on to our first DIY because everything is prepped, and these are my 2 little wood pumpkins that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I cannot wait to transform them. So the first thing I did was, of course, remove that sticker from the back, and now I'm just going to prep them a little bit. I'm going to be using the back as my DIY side, but I did want to get some of this glitter off of there because I am going to be painting the whole pumpkin. So I just took a sanding block and just brushed some of that off. I didn't get all of it, but just the majority of the glitter that was kind of causing it to have a bumpy surface. And after I just sanded it down, I took off those little raffia bows on the top because I'm going to be adding my own bows later. And now that they are prepped, it is time to paint them. And I'm using my favorite chalk paint to paint these today. This is just some white chalk paint. I'll leave this one linked down below. I just ordered from Amazon. You could definitely even spray paint these, but I was just really looking for something to cover up the color quickly, and chalk paint definitely does that. And I didn't want to paint the stems because I kind of like the brown color that they were, so I figured the easiest solution would just be to paint them with my white chalk paint. Now for some contrast, I'm going to be painting the edges. So for my first pumpkin, I'm going to be using this black chalk paint that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint all of the edges of my pumpkin. But you will see for the front side where I'm going to be putting my decal, I wanted to kind of create a bit of framing. So you'll see here, I just took my brush and kind of just created some abstract brush strokes all around the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just really helps frame out the decal really nice in the end. And then for my second pumpkin, I went with this burnt orange color. So if you saw in my decals before, I created one that was kind of more for Halloween. It's a Hocus Pocus theme. And then the second one was definitely more of a fall theme. So that's perfect for now. And I'm going to save my Hocus Pocus one for October because I'm definitely a huge Hocus Pocus fan. So now that my paint is all dry, these are ready for the decal. So you guys have to see this. It's so much fun. You saw before that I trimmed them out. Now I'm just going to go ahead and trim them a little bit more closely. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. This Waterslide paper is clear, but I just wanted to get a bit closer. Now you just have to dip it into some water. So this is just some tap water from my sink. I just put it into a bowl, and you just have to let your decal sit in the water for about 30 seconds, and then it's ready to use. So while I was waiting, I just trimmed out my second transfer here, and by the time I was done, my first one was ready to use. But before you put it onto your surface, do remember to wet it. So this is going to help the transfer kind of be able to slide around and adhere a lot more just solidly. So I dampened my surface, and now you can just take your decal, peel off that backing. It comes off very easily, and you can place it. And since your surface is wet, it's going to give you a chance to kind of move around your decal in case you're not really happy with the way it laid down. You definitely have some wiggle room with this. It does not set immediately. You can kind of play with it a little bit. But if you were to put this down on a dry surface, you would not be able to do that. And now, once you have it exactly where you want it, just take a dry paper towel, and working from the inside out, you just want to squeeze any excess water out and then just dab on the top and let this completely dry, and that is it. You are done. I love this. I think it's so much fun. I really enjoy crafts where you can kind of just customize them and make them however you like. And like I mentioned before, I completely love Hocus Pocus, and you can definitely find Hocus Pocus decor, but sometimes it's not exactly what I'm looking for. So I love the chance to be able to make my own, and especially since I don't have a cutting machine, this is such a good option. You can use any picture you find to print out to use on these. So if you don't like my Hello Fall or the Hocus Pocus one, definitely just pick an image that you love. Try it out. Trust me, it is so much fun. And now just to finish these off and kind of cover up that glue spot where that raffia bow was, I'm just going to be using some ribbon. So I think this was just some ribbon I had on hand, but of course Dollar Tree does have ribbon. So I went with a nice chocolatey brown color for that fall one, and then for my Hocus Pocus one, I just did black. I'm so excited with how these turned out. This to me is just the perfect craft. They look so cute, they're not too hard, and they're definitely a lot of fun and customizable. Definitely can change up the colors here, and of course any image you like, so definitely a really fun one. For our next DIY, we are going to be making a farm truck, but it's going to be a very large sized farm truck for a few dollars. This is probably going to be one of my all-time favorite Dollar Tree DIYs just because it is so substantial and just has such a nice size to it, and I think the end result was just so pretty, and I really think you guys are going to love this one. So I'm just going to go in first and fill in those holes from that twine with some of the drywall putty from Dollar Tree. It's the lightweight spackle. So I just filled in those holes, gave it some time to dry, and I used my sanding block just to kind of buff them out. Now I'm going to be painting the majority of my truck a nice light blue color. I also picked up this little box from Dollar Tree, and you will see later this is basically going to act as the inside of our truck. So this is going to be a full self-standing 3D truck, and I'm just going to go ahead and give everything a nice paint job. So for my colors here, I just used that same white chalk paint that I used in my last craft, and I tinted it with some light blue just to give it this really pretty fun color that was just so bright, and I think it works so well with orange pumpkins, and I am going to be painting those pumpkins orange, so the colors just really complement each other really nicely. So after I painted my box, I just went ahead and I painted the back side of my trucks because I figured it was just easier to start that way since they were nice and flat. I just did not paint the pumpkins because I'm going to go ahead later and paint those orange. Once the backs were dry, I just went ahead and I painted the front portion of my truck here with that same blue color. I just left out the pumpkins, that little wood crate, and the tires because I will be painting those a different color. Once all of that was dry, I decided it was time to get to painting the rest of it. So I'm going to go in with that same black chalk paint that I used my last craft. This one is from the Dollar Tree, but any black paint will do, of course. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint the inside portion of that tire. So you'll see here it kind of has a bit of a 3D effect. So I wanted to paint the hubcaps, I think those are called hubcaps, just white to kind of make them pop a little bit more, and I painted the actual tire portion black. And now I'm going to go ahead and paint those pumpkins with some burnt orange color. Next up, I chose this deep brown color for that wood crate in the back of the pickup truck, and I also used this same deep brown to paint those tiny little stems on the tops of the pumpkins. And now the last color we need is just some of that plain white, and I'm just using that to paint the hubcaps of my tires. So now it's time for our transfers, and I'm using this small one that says Autumn Farms. So I just went ahead, I put it into my water, and while that is sitting in there for 30 seconds, I'm just going to dampen my truck with a wet paper towel, then take that backing off of the transfer and put it into place. So I just decided to put it on the door, and I think it is just so cute. It's pretty small, but it makes a really big impact and makes this DIY look a lot more expensive than it is. So now we just have to assemble it. So I'm going to be taking that wood box that I painted earlier and gluing it to the back portion of my front truck. So you'll see here those pumpkins were not painted, the back portion, and it was bugging me, so I did paint it off camera. So don't worry, in the final result they are painted because they're not looking too good right there. But I just went ahead and hot glued that on, and then I just put some hot glue on the other side of the box, and I just lined it up. So I tried to make sure that it was in the same position, so right underneath that back window, and I made sure all the tires were touching the ground so it would of course be level before I kind of sandwiched them together. And that is it. How awesome is this truck? I think it's just so cool for $3, and of course paint and the decal. It is just such a cool craft. I decided to dress mine up with some Dollar Tree fairy lights, and I even tried this little scarecrow who was also from the Dollar Tree, and I thought he just looked so cute in the back of that truck. Now I'm going to be switching to trying out some of those heat transfers. So you just want to print this one out in your computer and let it dry completely. So it will look a little bit wet and it looks kind of matte here, but once you iron it on, the colors become so much more vibrant. So just give it some time to dry and then you'll be ready to go. So in the package, it comes with this adhesive paper, which I did not need. And then it also comes with these 2 pieces of parchment paper that you will need for sure when you're ironing on your decals. So you see them here. I'm just going to go ahead and prep them by cutting them out. And for this first craft, I'm just going to need the word fall. And I'm also going to be using these burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. They come 5 in a pack. I'm only going to need 4 for this craft. And I'm also going to be using these wood beads from the Dollar Tree. So they come in this strand just like this. I'm actually going to be leaving them as is today. The length that they were was the exact length that I was actually looking for, so that was super helpful. If you cannot find these at the Dollar Tree, I've heard that they can be kind of hard to find. I'm going to be linking very similar beads from Amazon down below. So now to prep our transfers, you want to go ahead and cut them out. Now these are a little bit different from the water slides. You do have to cut them out exactly. So you do not want to leave a border because these are actually white. They're not clear. So any white part that you leave, you will see in the final result. So I'm just going ahead and making sure to just give it a little extra TLC with cutting out those little tiny pieces. Now that all my letters are cut out, I'm going to go ahead and get my leaves prepped. So once you take them out, you're going to want to separate them, and there's going to be 5 in there, but for this craft I only need 4, and you'll see that they come with this little wire on the back. I do want to save that because that is going to be helpful later, but for the time being I'm just going to take them off, and they were actually kind of falling off already, so I had to take them off anyway. But for the iron-on portion, it's best to have a flat surface. So now I'm just going to go ahead and peel off my iron-on transfer very carefully, and I'm just going to put it where I want it to stay on the leaf. So I have my leaves upside down. I figured that kind of looked the best, and I'm just going to be placing my letters right in the center of them. And these are not sticky at all in the back, so they're not going to get stuck in one place. If you want to move them around, you can definitely move them around until you actually iron them. So now to iron them, you're going to want to make sure they are on a very flat surface and a stiff board. So I just have a bamboo cutting board in the back here just to make sure it's nice and stiff. I set my iron to the cotton setting, and make sure that you turn the steam off. You want no steam for this. So before you iron them on, you're just going to want to use one of those parchment papers that come in the pack, and then you just want to go ahead and iron over it. So it says to do about 2 minutes, but you can kind of tell when it's done. If it peels off very easily, you'll know that this is done. And these are of course just for decor, so I was not too worried about it coming off, because once it was on there, it's not going to be fussed around with too much, so I knew that it would stay put. And I was honestly very, very impressed with how these ironed on. Since I was working with the fabric like burlap, I was a little bit nervous, but honestly, it worked out so well. These look beautiful. I was so happy with it. Of course, when you're using an iron, please let an adult do it. If you are a child or under 18, do not do this craft. Make sure you have an adult present, or let the adults handle the iron. And of course, be careful whenever you're using something hot. So once I had all of my iron-ons, I just took that same metal wire from before. I put some hot glue on the back, hot glued them back on, and now they are ready to go on our banner. So they bend, which makes them so easy to attach onto the banner with. So I just went ahead, bent them, kind of made a little hook, hooked them where I wanted them to hang on my banner, and then I just secured them back, and that was it. Very simple, but honestly, this craft looks really beautiful. So in supplies, it was only $2 plus the iron-on transfers, but I love this. This is definitely one of my favorite fall decorations for sure. For this next DIY, I picked up 3 of these styrofoam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to be painting them, so you're going to want to take out those stems. They come out pretty easily. This third one gave me a little bit of trouble, so I had to kind of pry him off there, but he came out in the end. And I'm actually just going to be using one of those stems later on, so I will not need the other 2. So for the first pumpkin, I'm going to be painting it with that same chalk paint that I used before. This is hands down my favorite chalk paint, and this will be linked down below if you guys are looking for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a really nice, generous coat of that white chalk paint. For my second pumpkin, I'm going to be using a base of that same white chalk paint, but I'm tinting it with some blue to kind of give it that really pretty light blue color. I thought that this would look really nice with that truck that we made earlier, so I kind of wanted to stick in that same color palette. And then for my third pumpkin, I wanted to do a really pretty muted sage green. And for the one stem that I was using, I just painted that with some dark brown. Then I just left everything to dry, and while it was drying, I got started on my Waterslide decal. So I picked up this galvanized bucket from the Dollar Tree. So pretty for just $1, but I thought it would look even better with this decal. So I created this decal for these buckets just to kind of not stand out too much, but just to add a little something to it. And I think the coloring looks really good with it, that nice blue color with the metal. So while my decal was in the water, I just went ahead and took a paper towel, dipped into the water, made sure the surface that I was putting the decal onto was nice and wet, and then I just placed it in the center. So you can see here, like I was talking about before, it doesn't stand out too much. It just kind of blends in really nice to that galvanized metal, where it kind of gives the appearance that it was printed onto it. So it's not super bold, but it's really nice, I think, and understated. So here it is, all finished, and now is the super fun part. We get to make our topiary. So I'm going to be starting off with my blue pumpkin, and I ended up deciding to use the bottom of the pumpkin as the top. So you'll see here, this is the actual top of the pumpkin, but it has that ring of styrofoam around it, and I just did not love the look of that, so I figured it was better to just use the bottom as the top. So I went ahead and firmly pressed it in. You can glue this, but I kind of found it definitely wasn't needed. They actually fit really nicely together, and this way you can even take the pumpkin stack out of the bucket and use the bucket for something else if you want. So once my blue one was just kind of pressed securely in there, I hot glued my white one on next, and then my green one. And then I just took that little topper and I pulled out that toothpick and I glued that to the top of my green pumpkin. And here you go. Super cute. I think that this one's really adorable, and you can definitely customize it. One of those burlap leaves that I used before from the Dollar Tree would look so cute on top of this, right by the stem, or you can even use some gingham ribbon just to tie a really pretty bow on top. So for this next one, it's so easy. I cannot wait to share this with you. I picked up this orange mug from the Dollar Tree. Of course, you can go with any color. I just loved how kind of autumnal it looked. And I created this decal for this mug. So don't forget, these decals are clear. So those little white marks inside the pumpkin are not going to be visible in the end. But if you put this on a white mug, I think that this would really pop. I think it looks really cute on this orange mug as well, but I kind of wish I did go with a white mug, but that's okay. So I just put my transfer into that water, let it sit about 30 seconds, made sure the surface of my mug was wet, and then I just put on my water slide into place, and that was it. I smoothed it out, and you'll see here there's a little bit of water, so I just took my dry paper towel and started in the center and pushed my way out. until the decal was completely sealed on there. So I'm just going to be using this one for decor on my coffee bar, but you can definitely use this as a real mug. I would just suggest hand washing it instead of putting it in the dishwasher. For my next DIY, I'm going to be using the iron-on transfers again, and I'm going to be making some decorative tea towels just to kind of display in my kitchen. And these ones I already had on hand. I believe that they are from Walmart. If I can find a link, I will put it down below. But Dollar Tree has a great selection that you can definitely use for this. One of my towels will have the fox and the leaves, and then the second one will have the little cute squirrel and those acorns and pine cones. So just like before, you want to make sure you're cutting this out exactly. The iron-on transfers will leave that little white film around it, so make sure just to cut out the image. Once I had it all cut out, I just peeled off that backing and placed it towards the bottom of my towel. And then you can see here, I just cut out my pine cones and acorns, and I kind of just made it like they were falling onto the squirrel. And then I'm just going to cover up the ones I'm going to iron first with that parchment paper, and then just go over it with my iron very carefully, of course, on my board to make sure that it has a nice strong surface. And then I just had to peel off my paper because I couldn't fit all of them under it. And then I just have to finish off my last one there. But you can really see the difference here of how vibrant the picture becomes once you iron it on. It really is amazing, and it looks so pretty. And I did want to mention that the directions do say to only use dark fabric. So I kind of broke the rules here and I used a white cotton fabric, but I figured that these were just for decor use anyway, so why not give it a try? And I have to say I was really happy with the results. I just put my little girl fox at the bottom of this towel, and then I just had all of those colorful leaves kind of falling down onto her while she looked up, and I thought she was just adorable. And you can definitely use this, of course, on any surface to iron it on. But if you really liked these images, you could just put these images and print them out on your Waterslide paper and create transfers to put onto all different surfaces. And this was my last DIY for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed these. I had so much fun creating these for you guys. These are probably some of my all-time favorite DIYs I have done on this channel to date. They were really fun, something different, and I always love to try new things as a crafter, and it's just so fun and exciting. Thank you guys so much for watching today. If you are new here, please do not forget to subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys. To subscribe to my channel, you can just click on my picture right here, and make sure to check out this video for some more crafting fun.